Today we're going to be talking about how to avoid first-time homebuyer regret. Here's the deal. There are people who buy homes and immediately regret it. It happens all the time. And it's something that I think you should be cognizant of when you're shopping, because ultimately it only makes sense to buy a home if it is a benefit and not a burden. Okay, so I've done other videos about how you really need to make sure you stay in a rational mindset when you're buying a house. And we're going to be talking about that in this video as well. For anyone new to the channel, I'm a mortgage lender licensed in 48 states. I've been doing this for 18 years. I work with first-time home buyers across the country. If you need help, you need a lender, call us. But this is what I see, okay? First of all, if you go into buying a house being unrealistic about your budget, you're going to regret the house you buy. And what I mean by that is sometimes I'll have conversations with someone where I'm like, hey, your debt to income is really high. You have a ton of credit card debt. Your payment's going to be going up $500 a month. I think we need to bring down what you're looking at. And I'll hear, no, I'll change everything. It's going to be fine. Don't bring it down. Keep it there. That can lead to home buyer regret. Being house poor is not fun. And when you're looking at houses, it's really easy to get caught up in the excitement, also the exhaustion of looking and just wanting to be done. But if you're looking at your budget, and if you have a higher debt to income, and if you have a ton of credit card debt, bring that price down. Okay? Do not max out your whole life. Otherwise, you will regret buying that house. It's that simple. The other one that I see a lot of is if people are not making rational decisions. And this is usually caused by exhaustion. So there's a lot of markets that lack inventory, meaning there's not a lot of houses for sale. So let's say you start off and you're like, hey, we need 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. You look for 6 months, there's nothing. You're just getting tired. You're like, well, I guess we could do 2 bedroom. I guess we could do a studio. You're cutting down what you want every single time. Just wait, okay? Because here's the thing. Now look, if you're like, I need 6 bedrooms, I need a champagne cellar room, I need a 42 car garage, like if what you want is not realistic for what you need, that's a different story. But if you're looking at something going, we need a 3 bedroom, you know, we need our bedroom, our kids' bedroom, and I work from home and need an office, I'm telling you right now that cutting to a 2 bedroom is not going to be fun. You're like, oh, well, I'll work from the dining room table. It will be fun. No, it won't. It will be horrible and you'll regret buying the house. Okay? I cannot stress that enough. You need to be realistic about what you need to succeed in life and aim for that with the house. If you settle below that, okay, you will not be happy. You will regret buying that house. Now, usually people will go, but I can't afford a 3 bedroom. Stack cash. Okay? Just wait. And like I say this from a perspective of, guys, it took me in California 3 years to find my house there. 3 years, you know, and what I started off qualifying for versus what I ultimately qualified for were different worlds. You know, the time it took, my career was growing, I was stacking cash, I was paying down debt, you know, doing all that stuff to make it so ultimately I could qualify for a little more to get the house I wanted. Like, I think the expectation of going shopping and finding a house in a month or 2 in most parts of the country is not super realistic. There's some parts of the country you can definitely do that because there's a lot of inventory, but in lower inventory areas, you can't. So really sit down and be mindful of what you need to be successful and happy in your home. And that is where you need to go. Don't settle because you're just gonna end up regretting it, okay? Another one is like housing type. You know, condo versus apartment. Sometimes, like for instance with me, you know, I can't handle noise. Noise is like, for me, it's a trigger. But realistically, in certain markets, like, could I afford a house? Probably not. So I would need to do a condo. But would that make me happy? No, I would regret it, right? So if I was in a market where I could only buy a condo, I wouldn't. Knowing what I know now about myself, no way, I can't handle noise. So think about who you are as a person and what would really bother you, and let's not buy it, okay? even if it makes it so you rent another year. Let's make sure we're getting to your goal. What else? Unrealistic expectations of cost. So when I say unrealistic expectations of cost, I'm not talking about your payment. We covered that in the first one, right? If you go house poor, you're going to hate your life. You're going to regret buying the house. What I'm talking about is a lot of times people will walk into a house and they'll be like, oh, well, we can redo the bathroom and the kitchen and yeah, it'll be great. The cost to do that stuff is huge, and that can lead to home buyer regret. If you buy a house thinking, oh, we'll redo the bathroom and kitchen, it'll be like, I don't know, $20K. No. Whenever you're looking at a house and to be happy with that house, there are things you have to do. Before you buy that house, get quotes. And the reason I say that is that if you have quotes and you look at the cost and you go, okay, you know what, I can afford that. I'm comfortable with that. Great. Buy the house, right? But what you don't want to do is buy the house thinking that you're going to be able to do all this stuff so that you like the house. Then you get the quotes and you go, oh my God, we can't afford this, and you hate the house. Instant regret. Instant regret. Don't do it, okay? Now, the last one is if you're shopping with a partner or another person. And this is my personal opinion on it. If I'm ever on the phone with a couple and I hear, well, my husband really likes it, but I don't buy the house. Well, my wife really likes it, but I don't buy the house, okay? The reason I say that is that both of you need to like the house. And if someone's already verbalizing, I don't like the house, but they do, and their feelings are more important, it doesn't work out long term. It just doesn't. Because here's the thing. So anytime, like that's my nightmare. I wouldn't buy a house that my husband did not like, because anytime I would hear, well, you like the house, I could never say anything negative about the house, because I know he would go, well, you wanted this. Well, you wanted this, right? Like, think about it, guys. Like, that's what people do. We could all pretend like we're all these, like, I don't even know. Is it like an altruistic, non-petty angel? We're all a little bit petty. And it's like, buying a house with another person, it should be exciting for both of you, okay? Or it's like, look, are there some couples where maybe the wife really wants something specific and the husband does not care? Or reversed? Cool. Okay? Cool. If they don't have an opinion and they just trust yours, awesome. But if they have an opinion and don't like the house, but you do, so they're buying it, don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So the last one on this that I want to cover that I think that leads to instant regret. Waiving inspections is a big one. So we see this in more competitive markets. So those markets where if you write an offer, there might be 5, 6, 7, 8 offers. We'll see that people waive inspections. What you're doing at that point is you're saying, hey, it doesn't matter the condition of the house, I'm going to buy it. That can lead to home buyer regret, because no matter how good the house looks in person, it's not uncommon for someone to later get an inspection and find out the house has a serious problem. Okay? And that can lead to regret, because you may not be able to afford to fix that problem. If you had known about that problem, you would not have bought the house. And a lot of times a real estate agent will go, well, the seller has to disclose any problems. Guys, sellers are liars. I hate to say it, it's true. Not all sellers, but you've got two things. Number one, and this actually happened to Alyssa on our team who got all her inspections, but she got into the house. And first big storm, she's like, oh my God, Jen, like the garage is flooding. There was water here, there was water there. You know, then her kids are in the playroom. There's water coming through the ceiling. Like, it was nuts, right? And like, she'd even had inspections, and she's like, the seller disclosures didn't cover this, because seller disclosures, this was in California, ask, are there any known leaks? No. So she called the seller, and the seller's like, oh, I'm sorry I had to do that to you. That house is the water house. I had to get out from underneath it. She's like, oh, you know, obviously he ended up paying some stuff, but yeah, like he literally admitted to her that he knew the house had all these problems, and he didn't disclose it because he wanted to get rid of the house. So really, really be careful. Now here's the next question. Would you have known any of this from the pictures? No. Would you have known this from walking through the house? No, that's the crazy thing. Because like Alyssa had inspections. So like, do I think her inspector screwed up on the roof? 100%. But the flooding that was coming into the garage, that was a grading issue. So unless it was wet when the inspector was out, they wouldn't have even noticed. Okay, so don't waive inspections, and look, get as many as you can. Just know that sellers don't always disclose everything. And I know right now you're going, but Jen, Alyssa got inspections and she still got screwed? Yes, but here's the thing, like generally an inspection stops that. Okay, that's why I'm really against waiving inspections. I think you should get your own inspector. You should be looking at reviews. This is something the team and I have really focused on since this incident, because you just assume like, well, they're a home inspector, they're a licensed home inspector, so I'm sure if they miss something, they're liable. Guys, nothing ever happens, ever. Nothing ever happens, you know? And then it's like, we've had clients where they've been concerned about mold. Like, I think this house might have mold. And the seller's like, well, I don't want you testing for that. My advice would be walk away. Look, if you think there's something wrong with the house and the seller won't let you get that inspection, there's probably something wrong with the house, right? Because, for instance, if I'm selling a house and it doesn't have mold and they want to do a mold inspection, I'm like, go for it. Have fun. Like, good luck, right? Whereas if I was a shady person and I knew the house had mold, I'd be like, nope, that's not a normal inspection, right? That stuff happens, okay? So those are the biggest things that I see lead to home buyer regret. And I think the best thing about buying a house that you can do so that the house is a benefit and not a burden, get fully underwritten and approved, go through those numbers, man. Go through them like it's a full-time job. Do a budget. Be honest about what you need to be successful and happy, and stick to it. Make sure you're getting inspections. Okay? Make sure you know what you're getting into. You know, don't listen to HGTV. It's not that easy and cheap to remodel stuff. So if you have your eyes wide open the whole time, right, you're less likely to end up in a position of regret. Also, making sure that you're working with professionals that will say things like, I will literally talk people out of buying houses. I'll be like, can you please not buy that? Like, we had one recently where I was looking at the house and I was like, it didn't have water. Like, water would have to be trucked in. I was like, no. I'm like, the water's this much per month. It's going to put your debt to income here. You don't know if water goes up. Like, if you want to buy that, please work with another lender. I won't do it. I'm not going to put you in a bad position to make money. Like, there's no long-term benefit for either one of us. So make sure you're working with professionals that are not desperate for a paycheck and can sit there and like, look guys, I say it on the phone. Hey, one of you likes this house, one of you doesn't, let's not buy it, right? Because I know where it ends. So make sure you're working with a lender and a real estate agent that care more about you being happier in the long run than getting a paycheck now. Questions, comments, if you have mortgage questions or you're like, I want to plan for buying in a year, get on the calendar. Sandy, Alyssa, Linda, Christina, Amber, Jen, Sam, the team is so nice. And if you look at our reviews, you'll see like, look, we really care and we're here to help. So please feel free to reach out. Thanks for watching.